Karuna. I'm the founder and executive director of Mind Oasis, and this is Meditation Happy Hour, Tea, Talk, and Truth with Karuna. And my guest today is a friend and a colleague and a wonderful partner in crime on Mind Oasis, and her name is Jane Coburn. Jane, how are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm so glad to be here.
Good. Tell us first about your wonderful earrings. They're dangly, and I can't tell if they're like a jewel or are they like a turquoise. What are they?
There's turquoise in the middle there.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
beautiful.
love them.
Yeah, I wear a lot of turquoise. It's good for protection. And in the world that we have right now, that ain't a bad thing. So tell us where in the world you are.
I live in the beautiful mountains of North Carolina.
Cool. And for those of you who have listened to our community meditation teacher spotlight, Jane has been spotlit before, and she's told us about those wonderful mountains that she lives in. Tell us a little bit about your family.
Well, I've been, my husband and I will be celebrating 30 years of marriage in January,
Wow.
which blows me away. I don't know where the time goes. Um, and we have two sons. They are 24 and 22, and they are wonderful.
Cool. And when you're not teaching meditation and when you're not sharing insight into the mystics, which we will get to, what else are you up to in this world?
Um, I love nature. I love to go hiking. I love to go kayaking. I'm actually headed out for a weekend at a friend's lake house this weekend, hoping to hike and kayak, and just being out in nature brings me peace. I love it.
Good, very cool. And so Jane, you came to Mind Oasis through the meditation immersion, but I think prior to that, maybe the May Meditation Challenge. Can you tell us a little bit about your journey to finding Mind Oasis?
Sure. Well, in the fall of 2019, a friend of mine was teaching a Kundalini yoga class on Mind Oasis, and I didn't know anything about Kundalini. I didn't know anything about it, and it sounded really interesting. So I took that class. And because of that class, it was wonderful. And because of that class, I started getting your emails. And then in March of 2020, when COVID hit and everything was shutting down, I was really looking to get my meditation practice to be more consistent and just, make it more of a daily thing. I had been meditating on and off for about 10 years, but never consistently. And so I just went on community meditation, through one of the emails. I joined community meditation and started meditating, and I've absolutely loved it ever since. And decided a year ago now to do the meditation immersion. And it really transformed my life and has made my meditation practice a daily practice and really potent, and has changed my life off the cushion in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I get up at 5 so that I have an hour of quiet, and then at 6 I go out and run. And it didn't used to be my routine. I'm kind of a midday runner, but because of the wildfires in the West, the smoke is so bad by midday. I've had to
Mm.
kind of change up my routine. And even though I'm the person who facilitates the meditation immersion, it was really interesting this morning. We have a new fleet of people in the immersion, and so I've been working on not just my own personal practice, but also engaging in a shamatha practice that's a little bit more traditional and looks a little bit more like what students do in the immersion. And so I set my little timer, and I had 10 minutes, and my mind was like all over the place. And I just kept going back to my own instruction. And I was kind of cracking myself up because it was like, who's the teacher and who's the student here anyway?
Yes, I understand that completely.
Yeah, it was really
I'm
fun. So yeah.
I'm forever telling my students that if your mind wanders, that's the point. That's basically the point, is to notice that and come back to your breath, and my mind's all over the place all the time, and I'm always bringing it back. So
Yeah. That's great. That's great. So you have a couple of offerings coming up on Mind Oasis, but before we go there, you chose to go through the teacher training in the immersion, and so you became a community meditation teacher. When is your slot? And tell us a little bit about what people can expect when they visit you.
Yeah, I was thinking about it. I've been teaching on Mind Oasis for 9 months now. I can't believe it.
It feels like 5 years,
Uh,
but yes.
well, Mind Oasis is just such a wonderful community. If you keep showing up, you just really, it's like a family, you just really become a part of Mind Oasis. I just love it. Um, so my regular meditation guide is Sunday evenings at 8 p.m. Central. And it's funny because before I moved into that slot, I usually meditated in the morning.
Mhm.
And I still meditate in the morning for my personal practice, but I'm finding that I'm loving these evening guides and I'm loving going to some of the community meditations in the evening. I'm finding that it's just this beautiful way to end my day and kind of lead me into sleep. I sleep better. It's really been wonderful. So I'm enjoying that Sunday night slot. And then I sub all the time. Tuesday nights, I'm doing Tuesday at 8 p.m. For the month of September for Lena, and I'm doing a couple of Thursday noon times and a couple of Monday 9 o'clock times.
Yeah, so
And
what's great about community meditation is that you can go onto mindoasis.org and go under the meditate tab, and there's a schedule, and so it gets updated. So if you want to check out where Jane is and all of her beautiful subbing, you can find her there, which is awesome.
I do at least once a month, I do a loving kindness meditation. I lead people through loving kindness, especially nowadays. I just feel like the world needs that. And then a lot of my guiding is about presence, the present moment, joy. I do a lot about joy, inner knowing, listening to your inner knowing, tapping into that and following that and shutting out the noise of the world. Um, Love, self-love, compassion for others. Those are the themes that I kind of come back to often in my guiding.
Awesome. I see that playing out in your life. So it's really beautiful. I think that's one of the things that's unique about Mind Oasis is um, that we are householders. So we're not like in a teacher-student upper echelon and the lower echelon. We're in sort of a symbiotic relationship with the people who show up on any given day. And, we're playing it out in the kitchen and with partners and pets and friends and all of that stuff, just like anyone else who's shown up looking for a little calm, So I think that's
Right.
something that's really beautiful about Mind Oasis, and you definitely embody it.
Thank you.
So beyond community meditation, you have two offerings coming up, and there is a common word in both of them. You have a mini workshop. These are free on Mind Oasis. It's a way for you to get to know the teacher ahead of time, get to ask some questions about the upcoming full series. So you have Just Another Mystic Monday, which of course always has me singing the song. And
80s girl,
80s girl. Yeah. And it takes place on the 20th of September, which is a Monday at 9 a.m. So tell us a little bit about Just Another Mystic Monday. Whoa.
Well, my series coming up in October is a 4-week series, and each time I'm going to talk about a different Christian mystic. But on Just Another Mystic Monday, I have 30 minutes. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about one of the mystics, one of my all-time favorite Christian mystics, Teresa of Avila. And she was a 16th century mystic in Spain. And so on that Monday, I'm going to just introduce my students to a little bit of background, just a little taste of Teresa of Avila, because I'll cover her in an October class. And then we'll just do maybe a 15-minute meditation around a quote of hers that I like, a quote that speaks to me of Teresa's.
Do people need to be Christian to
No,
attend?
no. No, I'm not trying to make anybody Christian. I don't even know what I am. I'm trying to be spiritual, the spirit. I call myself spiritual smorgasbord.
Yeah.
So I was raised Catholic, but I've always been a spiritual seeker from the time I was little, and I continue to be so. And the interesting thing is that um, I first learned about saints when I was a kid, and it was more in the sense of like worshiping them, and like this goal that was like unattainable. Like the saint was, you're never going to be a saint, they were like godly.
But on the other
And
end, like you might become a sinner. I don't know.
and then about 11 years ago, I got introduced to Father Richard Rohr and his writings and his Center for Action and Contemplation. And I started taking courses there and learning all about the Christian mystics. And the thing that stood out for me is that they're so human and they really embrace their humanity. And they are, through their brokenness and through life hard crap that happened to them in their lives, they found God and found an inner, God inside them. And then found that love and then brought that out into the world in their teachings and in their daily life. And that really spoke to me. And I thought, oh, they're not just this saint in the sky. These mystics were real people that went through real shit, and through that reached out to others and found a closeness to the divine and helped other people. And so that really spoke to me. And then the interesting thing is, I read about them and yeah, they're great and everything, and then hadn't really thought about it for a while. And then actually being on Mind Oasis and being in your Thursday morning class, Karuna, and other classes around Buddhism, a lot of the things that I was hearing in those classes were things that the Christian mystics were teaching and had taught me. And it was almost like this full circle moment. It's like studying Buddhism brought me back to this, these Christian mystics. And so that's what called to me to teach these classes, because it was like, oh, the universality of these teachings, is just beautiful to me. And if more people from all different backgrounds could learn from different backgrounds, maybe we would find the commonality rather than the differences.
Yeah. So for those of you who are listening to the podcast and couldn't see my expression, I was totally cracking up as Jane was describing. It's Saint Teresa of Avalon.
Avila, Avila.
Thank you, Avila. I was cracking up because as you were describing her life and her way of being in the world, it sounded to me like the embodiment of bodhicitta, which we're studying about on Thursday mornings in my Thursday morning Tibetan Buddhist class. But, Bodhi is, let's say, awakened and chitta is mind. That's a kind of oversimplification of the word, but it's the wish, the aspiration that all sentient beings are happy and free. And then if you take on the challenge as a saint or a warrior, you embody that and you go out in the world and you're a helper. So when I think of folks who are embodied sort of bodhisattvas, it sounds like she is one. And I think of Mr. Rogers, I think of Jesus, I think of all of these people that Mother Teresa, who maybe we think of as humans who've done extraordinary things, but when I hear their extraordinary things, I think of them as Buddhas.
Mm-hmm. It's funny because to prepare for this class, I was watching, there's a scholar, Mirabai Starr, and she's translated one of Teresa's books. And she actually used that language. She said, oh, she's a bodhisattva. She said the Buddhists would consider her a bodhisattva, and I just was like, Karuna would love this.
Yeah, I do love it. My heart's all warm right now and I'm really excited. Okay. And people don't have to have a meditation practice. You'll guide them gently and all that good stuff. So really this first free mini workshop is it's just for anyone. Yeah.
Yes, it's for anyone who just wants to come together and just learn a little bit about some wonderful people and just have a little peace in their day and, start to stoke the fires of self-love and compassion and inner knowing.
Awesome. Okay, so you can go to mindoasis.org and you'll see there's a Learn tab. And then you'll see that specifically there are free mini workshops. And Jane's is one of many that you'll find there. The cool thing is if you're like, I'll be dropping off kids at school, or I have to work, or honestly, I sleep in. This is all okay because it will be recorded. So if you register for that mini, you can watch it later. Of course, we always encourage you to come live because it's best. Um, so then tell us a little bit more about Into the Mystics, which of course then I'm like singing Van Morrison now, so this is amazing. The Spirituality and Wisdom of the Christian Mystics, and that's your 4-week series. It starts on the 4th of October and is on Mondays at 9 a.m.
Yes, yes. I'm excited. So it's 75 minutes, 9 Central on Mondays, every Monday in October. And the funny thing is that I could literally do a 6-month course on each one of these mystics. I mean, you could just go down the rabbit hole. You know, there's so much. Their writings, they're all prolific writers, you know. And so this is just this tiny little taste each week into one of them. So I picked 4, 2 women and 2 men. I think I'm gonna do it chronologically. So the first one would be Julian of Norwich, an English Christian mystic from the 14th century. And she lived through the Black Plague, and was isolated in a tiny room with a window, and the villagers would come and get advice from her. And so she was very, very ill.
How timely.
Yeah. And I think she really speaks to this time. And in her illness, she thought she was going to die, and she saw visions, and that's what she then came out of that, and then, you know, started writing. And she actually was the first female published.
Oh.
So, and so we're going to talk about Julian of Norwich, and then the next week it'll be Saint Teresa of Avila, 16th century Spanish, and then her buddy, a little bit younger than her, but they were very, very deep, loving friends. St. John of the Cross is the next one. So they were both Spain, 16th century. And then we're going to go way forward to the 20th century and talk about Thomas Merton, who was a monk and wrote prolifically in the 50s and 60s, 1950s and 1960s. So each of them have their own life experience. They all have, they're a product of their time. The John of the Cross and Saint Teresa were products of the Inquisition in Spain and the turmoil around that. Thomas Merton talked a lot about social justice in the 60s and civil rights, and was very good friends with Thich Nhat Hanh. And so they're very much a product of their time, and yet they all pretty much have the same message in a different way. And the message basically is God is love, that it's all about love, you know, and that we are born loved and we are enough. So each week I'll introduce a little autobiographical lesson about the person, and then read maybe a poem that they've written or a quote that really speaks to me. And then we'll do a meditation around that quote. And then maybe a little journaling, let people kind of get down on paper a few thoughts after the meditation, whatever came up in them, and then a little sharing with each other. And that's how I see each class going.
I'm sitting here thinking, you're right. My God, this could be like a year-long study, I feel like, with like 2 months dedicated to each of these amazing human beings. And I had no idea that Teresa and St. John of the Cross like were compadres, or like in the same.
Yeah, I forget, I'd have to look at my notes, but they're like, you know, she was in her early 50s and he was in his mid 20s when they met, and they became very, very close in life friends, spiritual friends. And she actually recruited him to reform his order of priests, and he actually gotten thrown in jail for it. They've all either been chronically ill, imprisoned, tortured, death threats. Thomas Merton got death threats in the 60s because of what he was saying and writing, and trying to be peace, bring peace to the world. And his writing is against the Vietnam War. So that's what I mean from the beginning when I said they're like human. These people lived life. They weren't sitting in a cave somewhere. They were in it. And despite everything they went through, they stuck to what they believed and brought it out into the world in service. So can you tell I'm passionate about this?
Yeah, and I'm getting all teared up. So I was like trying to take a breath and a gulp of air so that I could remain composed. So Jane brings her 4-week series to Mind Oasis. You can go to mindoasis.org, go to the Learn tab. If you just punch in the word mystics, you'll find both of her offerings. It starts on the 4th of October. It's a 4-week series. It's on Mondays at 9 a.m. Again, you could listen to the recording. Always better if you can just carve out the time. Take that PTO. It'll be worth it because you will learn that you are God and God is love and everything in between. And even if that doesn't resonate with you, you're going to learn a bunch of historical, interesting stuff, which is amazing. And if that doesn't interest you, I don't know, I guess we're going to come anyway and just have some fun with
you get
in
to hang
community
with
with Jane. Exactly. Jane's a stellar human being. You can ask anyone who knows her. Jane, what's your truth?
Oh gosh, what's my truth? I would say my truth is that life is really hard. And so find joy, find love and joy where you can get it, and really imprint it on your heart, because that's what life's about, for all the hard stuff that we have to go through.
So what Jane failed to mention is that she's this amazing life coach, and we're friends. But this week I had a difficult time for a couple of days, and then like I decided, well, hell, I'm just going to wake up and find the joy because Jane says find the joy. And so I I made my partner a cup of hot tea yesterday morning, and I infused it with love and bodhicitta. And I took it up to him, and I decided to do it in silence because every time we speak, we seem to be going around and around right now, which is okay. Like, we're Capricorns. We just kind of have to lock horns once in a while. So I just brought him this cup of tea, and he said thank you, and I walked away. And about an hour later, we went for a really nice hike together, and then had like sort of this nice day of reconnecting. And so what started out the week was kind of rough, and then yesterday was really sweet, and now I'm here with you, and who the hell knows what's going to happen for the rest of the day. It's planned out that it's going to be great, but the sky could fall, COVID could hit.
Right.
And so this idea that Jane just shared, her truth about, life is hard, find the joy. It's like, not tomorrow. You got to find it when you're in it.
Exactly. People think of joy as like, oh, this big whole thing, but it can just be, I sit on my porch and I listen to the birds and I smile. It's just like, I can't believe I get to sit here and sip this tea and listen to these birds, or just a nice little kind thing someone says to you in passing, or, take it into your heart and just take a breath for a moment and really feel that, because we're rushing around all the time and we're not noticing.
I love it. I love it. All right. So Jane Coburn brings 2 offerings to Mind Oasis, both of them around the mystics. They will involve some nerdy stuff, some loving stuff, some meditation stuff, and everything in between. You can go to mindoasis.org, go to the Learn tab. You can see both of them. I think that the free mini is coming up pretty quickly on the 20th of September.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Monday.
And then the 4-week series starts on the 4th of October. Jane, thank you so much for taking time to be our guest.
Thank you so much.